If you're a manager, AI isn't just changing how your team works, it's starting to change your job. And no, I don't mean AI is going to replace managers. I mean something much more practical. As AI starts doing more of the execution, your value as a manager starts moving somewhere else. Less time managing tasks, more time designing how the work actually gets done. And there are 3 shifts I think every manager needs to understand. Now, think about what's happening inside companies right now. People suddenly have ChatGPT, Copilot, and all these other AI tools. They're writing with them, summarizing meetings, analyzing information, building presentations, researching problems, and now agents are starting to handle bigger pieces of the work too. Sounds great, right? Well, here's the problem. Giving people AI doesn't automatically change how a team operates.
You can give everyone an AI tool and still have the same meetings, the same approvals, the same processes, the same reports. Maybe everybody just gets through the same old process a little faster. But that's not really transformation. That's the old workflow with a faster engine. And the research shows this gap pretty clearly. Atlassian found that 85% of knowledge workers are using AI at work, but only 29% have really embedded it into their flow of work. So adoption is moving faster than operating design. Here's the shift. The manager's question is no longer just, how do I get my team to use AI? The better question is, how should the work itself change now that AI is available? And for me, that comes down to 3 things: define, design, develop. Let's start with define. Before AI, managers often spent a lot of time managing the visible activity around the work. Collect the updates, chase the status, build the slides, review everything, send the report. A lot of movement, but movement isn't necessarily value. Take a weekly leadership update. What's the manager really trying to accomplish? The old question is, did everybody send their update? The better question is, what do leaders actually need to know or decide? And that changes the whole workflow. A useful leadership update really needs to answer 4 things. What changed? What's actually off track? What risk matters? And what decision is needed? Once you define the outcome that clearly, some of the old steps stop being necessary. AI can help organize the raw material. It can summarize updates, spot changes, draft the report, even flag possible risks. But that doesn't mean AI owns the update. A human still has to check the facts, add the context, and notice what the system doesn't know. And the manager still owns the result. What should leaders understand? What counts as a useful update? What action should happen next? That's the first shift. Managers stop chasing activity and start defining value. Now let's move to the second one, design. And this is where a lot of companies get stuck. Use AI is not a workflow. It's an instruction without an operating system. A real workflow answers 3 questions. What should AI do? What should the human do? And where are the checks? AI may be great at drafting, summarizing, comparing, restructuring, and finding patterns. Humans still need to validate, judge, add context, handle sensitive trade-offs, and own decisions. And the handoff between those 2 is where quality lives. So, what does that look like in practice? Here's a common mistake. A company takes an old process and simply drops AI somewhere in the middle. Person collects the information, person writes the first draft, AI polishes it, manager edits it, final send. Okay, technically you're using AI, but the workflow is basically unchanged. A better version starts with the outcome. Let AI draft from the available information. Have a human validate the facts and add context. Then let the manager focus on the risks and the decision. Same business need, different operating design. And here's an important point. The goal isn't to automate everything. AI is strong at things like drafting, summarizing, comparing, restructuring, and finding patterns. Human judgment still matters when there are sensitive trade-offs, incomplete context, or real accountability. The manager's job is to decide where each one belongs. That's why I think of the manager as the workflow architect. And this is where quality gates really matter. AI can make drafting faster. It can also make weak judgment travel faster. Before anything important leaves the team, somebody still needs to ask, are the facts right? Are the numbers, dates, names, and sources correct? Is the context there? Are the risks clear? That checking work is starting to become its own job. Glean has a name for it, botsitting. Their research found workers spending about 6.4 hours a week supervising AI output. Think about that. If AI saves time in one part of the process, but creates hours of checking somewhere else, did you actually design a better system? Or did you just move the work? That's why managers need clear quality gates, not just better prompts. The responsibility should be obvious. AI drafts. Humans validate. Managers set the standard. That's the second shift. Design the system around AI, not just the prompt. Now, let's get to the third shift, develop. When AI speeds up execution, something interesting happens. The manager can suddenly become the bottleneck. More drafts, more analysis, more output, more things waiting for somebody to say, yes, this is good enough. And the answer can't be for the manager to just review everything harder. The better answer is to teach the team what good actually looks like. Show examples, coach the output, correct the mistakes, then update the standard. Over time, the team starts building judgment instead of waiting for the manager every single time. And that's important because AI doesn't remove the need for judgment. If anything, it makes good judgment more valuable. The faster we can produce something, the more important it becomes to know whether that something is actually useful, accurate, and worth acting on. That's the third shift. Develop judgment, not just output. So what does this look like at the leadership level? Microsoft's research on high-performing AI environments points to a pretty clear pattern. Managers openly use AI, they set quality standards, they create room for experimentation, and they encourage people to rethink how the work gets done. In other words, people watch what their manager actually does, not just what the company says about AI. Gallup found a similar signal. Employee engagement was 48% among people who said their manager actively supported their team's use of AI, compared with 30% among those who didn't. That's a pretty meaningful difference. If the manager treats AI like a side experiment, the team probably will too. But if the manager uses it thoughtfully, asks better questions, and makes the standards visible, AI starts becoming part of how the team actually works. AI adoption isn't just a technology rollout, it's leadership behavior. And that's why I don't think the manager's job is disappearing, it's moving upstream. So, what does moving upstream actually look like? Basically, the manager starts connecting three things: what the business is trying to achieve, what AI is actually good at, and where a human still needs to make the call. That sounds a little abstract, I know. So let's make it practical. What could you do with this next week? Don't launch some giant AI transformation. Seriously, just pick one thing your team does over and over. Maybe it's the weekly leadership update, maybe meeting summaries, maybe a risk review. Then ask, what is this workflow actually supposed to produce? Not, what are all the steps we do today? What do we need at the end? A decision? Better clarity? An action? Start there. Then redesign the work around that outcome. Where can AI draft or analyze? Where does a human need to check it? And where do you need a clear standard? That's when AI starts changing the way the team works, instead of just helping everyone do the old process a little faster. And if you step back, these three shifts are really connected. Define the outcome, design the workflow, develop the judgment. If the outcome isn't clear, AI just helps you create more activity. If the workflow isn't redesigned, AI gets bolted onto the same old process. And if the judgment isn't there, you end up with faster output, but not necessarily better decisions. Here's the shift.
The manager's value is moving away from simply keeping work moving and toward designing the conditions for better work. So this week, pick one recurring workflow and look at it differently. What are we actually trying to achieve? What should AI handle? Where does a human still need to make the call? And what does good look like? You don't need to transform the whole company tomorrow. Start with one workflow. Make it better. Learn from it, then do it again. Because AI doesn't drive the business. Managers do.
If this gave you a different way to think about the manager's role in AI, subscribe to AgenticWave. We're going beyond tools and prompts to look at how AI is actually changing work, management, and the way organizations operate. And if you're managing a team right now, I'd love to know. What's one workflow you think AI could genuinely improve? Drop it in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.